Hello, good morning or good afternoon, depending on the time you're watching this video. My name is Rosy Michelle Peña Chan. I'm a graduate student from Universidad de Quintana. I hold a BA in English language and currently I'm studying the master's degree in applied linguistics in English language teaching at Universidad de Guanajuato. Today I'm going to give you a presentation on my thesis project, and the title of this thesis project is Phonological Awareness, the effect on the sound structures of ESL learners. And let's start. The outline for these presentations includes the title, motivation, research question, literature review, methodology, data analysis, conclusions, and the list of references. First, I will share the motivation to conduct this study. I'm a graduate student from Universidad de Quintana Roo, Campus Cozumel, and I hold a BA in English language. Graduate students are asked to finish the degree with a competent level of English language skills, such as writing, reading, listening, and speaking. As a graduate student of this major, I realized that there might be some unconsidered areas of the language that are not developed during the major, such as pronunciation. Students of the English language tend to develop the four main skills during the degree, but from my view as students, we are not always aware of our improvement of pronunciation and its development. Therefore, the motivation to conduct this study emerges from my own experience regarding speech production in English. During my first practices using the language, my speech performance was not always successful when I wanted to communicate with native speaker. Some of the unpleasant experiences occurred when I mispronounced one word. I had to repeat these words several times and I could not make myself understood. The only solution that moment was to write the word, and when the listener read the word, she immediately understood it and pronounced it correctly. This was the voiced vowel phoneme which is the first sound of the word unflavored. My error was to pronounce the phoneme as it sounds in my L1, and I produced the phoneme as a clear and concise U. I realized that the phoneme was mispronounced, and because of that error, I had a breakdown in communication. This study aims to explore the influence of the first language on the acquisition of a second language in Spanish speakers learning English. Therefore, the research question which provided the base of this investigation is the following. How does the speech properties of Spanish influence the development of pronunciation when learning English as a second language? Now I will provide some of the main concepts that I'm using for the literature review of this research project. For this study, the term second language acquisition, SLA, is used due to the nature of the research. The primary definition that will be used for this study is stated by Ellis, who describes that SLA refers to any language learned after the mother tongue. Based on the context of this study, it was decided to use the term of second language acquisition instead of foreign language because it was more suitable for the project and the participants' background. The second main concept for this research is the role of first language, L1, in SLA. It is important to mention that the mother tongue performs an important role when acquiring a second language, being the first language that is acquired. It serves as the main reference for learners for subsequent language learning, and some statements demonstrate the development of the learner's acquisition process. Some of the important authors for this concept are Bibe, Bella, and Seliger. Next, we have the concept of language transfer and cross-linguistic influence, and some of the main authors are Terence Odlin and Kuhl. According to Odlin, transfer is the influence resulting from the similarities and differences between the target language and any other language that has been previously and perhaps imperfectly acquired. The same author, a decade a decade and a half after, established that the term language transfer can be used interchangeably with the term cross-linguistic influence. This was because both refer to the same action of the effects that one language can have on the acquisition of another language. Then, as we are researching how the L1 can influence L2 acquisition, this concept is from great importance. Then we have phonological awareness, and I think that this is the key concept to the development of this study. Phonological awareness is a key aspect of second language acquisition. Tonmer and Roll describe the term as the ability to reflect and manipulate the phonetic segments of speech. This term implies learners' ability to understand the structure of the language, how to manipulate different components of a sentence or the sound structure of a word. Phonological awareness refers to the capability of the learners to identify each phonemic element and break them into the smallest units. These are referring to the specific phonemes or sounds that we can find either in Spanish or English. The methodology of this project falls into the term of a quantitative paradigm. According to Brown, quantitative research can be defined as any research that focuses on counting things and understanding patterns that emerge from these counts. Being based on this definition of quantitative research, I choose to work with the quantitative paradigm. This decision was made because of the main purpose of this study. This research aims to improve with the use of statistical analysis if there exists any influence from learners' first language when they use pronunciation on their second language. This research falls into the category of a transactional, non-experimental research with a descriptive focus. Also, according to Brown, descriptive studies are those that describe behaviors, outcomes, scores, using statistics such as frequencies, percentages, descriptive statistics. Regarding the instruments that we used, there were two different. The first one applied was a questionnaire designed by the researcher who included questions that were from potential information and importance for the data analysis because social linguistic information could be relevant from students since their background could affect or not their performance on this study. The second instrument deployed was a list of words of 10 minimal pairs, a total of 20 words. The list was designed by the researcher with words containing specific properties of English language. One of the properties was that the words listed needed to include the phonetic symbol S. Each minimal pair had two different allophones from the same sign, one voiced Z and one voiceless S. From this instrument, the researchers selected only 6 minimal pairs to analyze in this study. The reason of the second instrument was to identify the participants' speech production when pronouncing the list of words and the possible use of their phonological awareness of their L1 to produce English words with the same phonological symbol and its different allophones. One of the characteristics was that the phonetic sign must exist in both phonological systems, Spanish and English. The difference was that the phonological system in participants L1 only had the one phoneme for the sign, which is S. On the contrary, in English, the same phonetic symbol has two different allophones, and as I mentioned before, one of them was voice and the other was voiceless. The participants who took part in this project were from different English levels. They were beginners, intermediate, and advanced students. This was a decision that the researcher made in order to obtain different results according to their knowledge in English and to see if there were any difference between their production of the sounds according to their knowledge in the language. For the data analysis, this was gathered through voice recordings. The way in which this data was analyzed was through a pre-computed software named Pratt. These programs allows you to analyze and reconstruct acoustic speech signs. Therefore, you can analyze, synthesize, and work with speech production at the same time. You can generate waveforms, spectrograms, and pitch tracks. It provides you information of pitch, intensity, pulses of the audio analyzed, and it measures this information in milliseconds, decibels, providing them in different color numbers. For this specific study, the length of the phoneme was measured through this software in milliseconds, and the length was obtained. And for the statistical analysis, measures of central tendency were used, arithmetic mean, standard deviation calculations, and the variance according to each phoneme from each participant. Here I have an example of a recording analyzed through the software Pratt, and this is an analysis of the word Guinness. It's kind of difficult to understand, but once that you are in touch with the program, it's easier. For example, the blue lines indicate pulses in the production of the word. This whole set of black lines, it indicates us that the speaker pronounced the word Guinness, and in this section, a little bit red, we have the silent phoneme. That's why there are not blue lines that indicate voicing on the production. This number is the one that we use to measure the standard deviation of each participant. As it was mentioned previously, we use minimal pairs, and here we have some of those minimal pairs. The first analysis that was realized, it was if the participants pronounce the word according to the voicing. For example, Guinness, we know that is a voiceless word, and here all the participants pronounce it correctly with the correct voicing, that is voiceless. On the other hand, we have the second word for the minimal pair, and most of the students pronounce it voiceless when it needed to be voiced. Only one participant did it correctly, and this measurement and this analysis was applied to all the words for all the participants. After the voicing analysis, it was merged in some charts according to their English level. Here we have the beginners chart, in which there were only 13 participants with a total of 156 words. Only 12 of these words were pronounced with a voiced production, and 142 were voiceless. The expected numbers for this analysis were it was to have half of the words voiced and half of the words voiceless, because as we know, these are minimal pairs. And here I have an additional section that is MSP, which means that the speaker, the participants, mispronounce the word, and some of the participants omitted or skipped just that word, and it was not possible to analyze the word. Here I have an example of the data analysis from the word Guinness. Um, in the first column, we can see the number A. This was obtained from an online dictionary with a standard variation of American English. The word Guinness was analyzed through the same software, and the length of the phoneme was obtained, and is the one that we can see on the chart. Then we took the phoneme length from one participant and is number B. To, to estimate the standard deviation, we just apply um, a descriptive statistics and measurements, and here we needed to apply subtraction from number A minus number B, and then we have the result. We had to do the same operation with every participant in order to have the results of this study. Here we can see closely some of the minimal pairs, the length of each phoneme from each participant, and the standard length that we took from the online dictionary. And we had the results, and these results gave us the how much do the participants deviated from the correct pronunciation in American English from their own production. Well, so far, some of the conclusions or and findings that I have from my research is that, well, the research question was answered, and these findings came to light after analyzing the participants' recording of their pronunciation. The clearest and stunning findings are that speakers of Spanish as a first language do not produce voice and voiceless sound distinctly. This is attributed to participants' absence of vibration in their vocal cords when pronouncing words with a voicing sound. And the second finding is that learners demonstrate a lack of awareness of the target language phonetic system. This finding emerged from the participant interest as they were exposed to um, the list of minimal pairs. As soon as they saw the list of minimal pairs, they started like having doubts or having some kind of interest on what needed to be pronounced distinctively between the minimal pairs. They noticed the different spelling in both words, and they were asking about how to pronounce each word, but for the nature of the study, I was not able, and I decided to not to tell them how to pronounce these words. And the third most outstanding finding is that learners reproduce some L2 sounds similar to their L1. Most of the participants in this study tend to transfer L1 properties to the L2. Basically, that will be it from me, and these are my references. And here you can contact me if you have any doubt. Thank you.